That's not how I want to start this video. Yeah! And it is, yes, it is not on mute. It's okay, I'm talking to you now. I finished this song that I had shown off a couple of weeks ago and said, oh, I'm having a lot of trouble. In fact, it was this song, when I was showing it off in Reaper, that had fucked up that stream for 20 minutes where I rambled on and on about I rambled on and on about why this song was giving me troubles, the technical difficulties that were going on, and of course I think all of that got cut out of the stream because, well, I was on mute. And then when I remembered to take it off mute, I had completely forgotten about what all had I had talked about while I was on mute, and therefore didn't mention probably the most important part. So a couple of weeks ago, like I said, when I had streamed the work in progress version of this song, I was having technical difficulties. So what that technical difficulty was that this song had a brief moment where it transitioned from a 4/4 time, so that's 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right? And it briefly switched to a 3/4 time, so that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right? And it was very brief, but because software is software, and despite actually time signature changes not being the most not the most uncommon thing in music. Like, it is not typical, but it's also not atypical. There's lots of different songs that do time signature changes like that. Even plenty of pop songs that have done it before in the past as well. So it blows my mind the number of music softwares out there that don't take these fucking things into consideration. God. Anyways, my guitar plugin, which is, as you could tell in the song, a pretty important part of the song, didn't account for that time signature change, and everything got fucked up. So I was trying to kind of figure out how I wanted to restructure the song. There is a couple of different methods. I could either do the duct tape method, where basically I render the pattern, because the pattern, it's the same pattern throughout the most of the song. I could just render that pattern as a WAV file and not even have to worry about dealing with the software and the MIDI and all that, and just, loop the wave. I actually did that in one of the songs, but the problem I was experiencing back at that time was that this time signature change happened pretty early on in the song, and so I wasn't entirely sure. Usually after I've after I've composed the main part, like drafted out the song, then I start making adjustments to it. And so if I had rendered the wave, basically, since this, like I said, this 3/4 time signature change happened pretty much close to the beginning of the song, that would mean that I'd basically render this wave for the entirety of, writing the song, and it would be more than likely that I'd wind up having to go back. It'd just be, like I said, it's a duct tape method. It's not a very effective way of doing it. I didn't want to do it that way, so I had to come up with a better solution. And what I eventually came up with was basically just completely restructuring the song and just throwing that out. Originally in the song, at the beginning, you kind of had this little twinkly guitar part. If you listen carefully in the song, there's a piano part that's like doing this little arpeggio thing. And actually, that piano part is doing the same thing that the guitar was doing before. But the song started with the guitar doing that. Let me see if I can find that rewind here. It's kind of like somewhere in the middle of the song, maybe here. Yeah, listen to the piano. So yeah, that was originally a guitar part that started off. It was a very soft part. Like, the piano is playing it a little bit harder than the guitar did, and that's kind of how the song started. And then it kind of had this little like 3/4 time transition from that into the strum pattern that you now hear throughout most of the song. Here, this strum pattern. So anyways, but like I said, using that 3/4 time thing just wasn't working, because software doesn't like it when I do time signature changes like that. Again, it seems ridiculous that music software developers don't take into account the possibility of a time signature change, despite it being a somewhat common thing in music. They sort of just expect you to, a lot of software honestly kind of expects you to write in 4/4 time, and God forbid you go outside of 4/4 time, then even then the software will still kind of be like, I don't know what to do. But then, God forbid, you not only go outside of 4/4 time, but then also throw in a weird time signature change, and now the software is just fucking useless. So for the love of God, music software developers, I don't think I'm asking for a lot. Well, I mean, I might be. I don't know how hard it is to program. I'm sure it's kind of weird to have to, because you can't just take the host information directly, because I'm sure the host information, whatever. Anyways, I'm sure it's probably a little bit tough to implement software that can detect when there's been a time signature change. But stop ignoring it, because it is still a fairly common thing in music. Yes, it is not done a lot, but it is done pretty darn frequently. Frequently enough that it should be pretty standard in most music software. So that was the rant that I had wound up cutting out somewhere in those 20 minutes that I had rambled on for. And I'm glad I can reinsert that now. I am not on mute this time, so for sure, I've made my point clear. Yeah, that was the problem I was having. I wound up restructuring the song. Now it just starts off with this, lovely little guitar strum. And actually, I kind of prefer it this way anyways. Really sets the mood for the whole thing. So the reason why also I wanted to finish this, I was going to kind of just procrastinate on finishing this song. But that kind of brings me to what we're going to talk about today, and it probably will not take me very long to talk about it, because most of what I did this week was story stuff, and as you probably know, I don't really show story stuff on the stream. So I will kind of briefly talk about some of the stuff that I did do it without necessarily revealing plot points, but I can just talk about game logic and how we get from basically this rainy coast to now listening to this happy-go-lucky guitar song. So I should have paused that. My bad. Anyways, so yeah, why don't we just hop right into that? The reason why I needed that song instead of just procrastinating on it is because I got to that point in the game where I needed to implement that song. It's really kind of important because actually, I guess in a sense you could say it's a cinematic, and so I needed to make sure that within that cinematic, the timing of the music, like the music itself, comes in and also feels appropriate for the song, or for the for what's going on in the game at the moment. So I really needed that music in place so I could really just test to make sure that the image in my head, the idea of how things are going, actually do work in the game. And so, yeah, I had to finish that song, so I got it done. I'm pretty happy with it. It's not one of my best songs yet, but it's good enough. I've enjoyed listening to it. It's nice, happy-go-lucky stuff. So, like I said, most of this week I've been busy working on story stuff. So most of it's going to be up here at the top of the lighthouse. There's still a few more things that need to get done, just like polishing stuff. First of all, here it is. Here's my list of stuff, because I have played through the game basically twice now. That was also something else. I've done a lot of play testing as well. Now, technically, I didn't play test from like start to end, because I've play tested this intro sequence quite a bit. I do want to make some adjustments to this intro sequence, but that'll probably come at a later point, simply because, as I mentioned, maybe maybe last stream or the stream before. No, not last stream, because that was the Tiefel one. So maybe the stream before or the stream before that, I had mentioned that I've kind of found a new and more interesting route to take the story, and it just requires a few minor adjustments to the way that the story unfolds in this beginning. Not a lot, so I'm still not comfortable enough showing off the intro that I have now, because I still think a lot of what exists here, some of the main beats of the story, are still going to be relevant. It's just sort of the phrasing of dialogue needs to be adjusted to fall more in line with the themes and ideas, so if that makes sense. So anyways, point is I have not been playing this part. I've just, I had a save file that basically skipped the intro, started right here in town, and I played from that point going forward. Oh, I should mention, to also speed up this process, is I built out a set of debug skills here. These just, this is because I've had just a handful of, it's really annoying when I get halfway through a playtest that may have taken me 30 minutes, and I'm trying to playtest up to a certain point, and then something goes wrong and I'm not able to continue that playtest, which requires resetting and turning stuff off or adjusting whatever it is that wound up blocking me or soft locking me or whatever the case may be. So I implemented some debug stuff to just basically bypass having to stop my current playtest, or even if I do stop my playtest, I don't have to completely reset the playtest. I can just pick up where I left off after making the adjustments that are necessary. So anyways, so I basically just started off in town and made my way through, and I have taken a list of notes of things that need to be adjusted. And this is also by far not comprehensive. There's a few other things that probably didn't make it on this list that I probably should have wrote down when I thought about them, but didn't. So I can briefly go through those so you know what's missing here. So first of all, there is a very small problem. I think I've already thought of a solution for this, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. I think previously I had mentioned that there is the NPC at the library, and he effectively works like his, I guess you could say, quest is kind of like the piece of hearts in any of the Zelda games, where if you collect 4 pieces of hearts, you get to boost your health, your maximum health points. He's kind of the same thing, but he instead of just health being the option, you get a choice. It's kind of more of a slightly more RPG sort of situation where you get a choice of what it is that you want to upgrade. But in order to get the upgrades, you have to get these pages of a manuscript for him, and those pages of the manuscript have been scattered throughout all of the levels. The original idea was that there would be 4 possible upgrades in total throughout the game. So there would be one manuscript located, like one full upgrade located within the town, scattered throughout the town. Like here's a chest for one right there. And then there would be 4 chests scattered throughout each level. So each level would give you 1 upgrade plus the town. So that equals to 4 possible upgrades. However, during my playtest, I realized that there are 5 pages in the level. And so that is that was kind of a problem, because the original intent was to use 4. And what I actually came up with was not to raise the number of pieces that you need to upgrade yourself, but instead just give 1 more upgrade. So think of it this way. If each level, each level has 5 pages in it instead of 4, that means you get plus the town. The town will just have its standard 4. So if each one has 5, that would be 15, which would mean 3 upgrades plus 3 extra pages. So all I would need to do is add that 1 extra page somewhere. And I figured the final bosses area could have just 1 page there, and that would work. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Obviously I haven't really put that into effect, but I should probably put a note somewhere saying I think that's the way that I'm gonna handle that. So it was an accident that I put the 5 pages into the level, but I liked where all of the pages were, and so I spent a long time trying to think about what kind of reward could I do in place of one of these pages, or could I just go ahead and delete them, or what can I do? And I ultimately came up with the idea of what I just told you guys is I'm just going to go ahead and just put 5 pages in each level, and that solves that. I get to keep all of the chests where they are in the level, and like I said, I'm happy with where they are. I'm happy with those rewards being there, and also the player gets just 1 more upgrade. The nice thing is too is I think it kind of makes it like, if think of it this way, is that if there's only 1 possible upgrade per level, then you know, each player like would be almost expected to find every single page in the level in order to get the upgrade. But now having 5 there, you basically get to carry over 1 possible extra, which means even if you don't find every single page in the level, you're 1 step closer. Even if you don't find all the pages, you're still 1 step closer to the possibility of getting an upgrade. I don't know how. I mean, I know that's kind of a convoluted explanation. It makes sense in my head. It basically, it's just the economy of pages has been inflated slightly. So now that they're slightly less valuable, it's ever so slightly less valuable. It just means it's more reasonable if a player just so happens not to find every single upgrade in the level or every single page in the level. Next, yeah, so the next one is at the top of the lighthouse. When you fight these two, it's very possible that you will die, and while there's nothing necessarily wrong if the player comes back and just starts the fight right away again, I did, however, earlier here at the midpoint, this mid-boss, if you die during the mid-boss and come back to him, he has special dialogue basically just acknowledging that you're back. It's not a lot. It's not like you're really missing out on anything super interesting. It's just a little bit extra just to say, hey, I know you died to me. And right now, the bosses at the top of the lighthouse do not have that. Instead, if you die to them and come back up here, it just plays through the whole sequence again. That's also another problem. That's another reason why I want to do it, is that the whole sequence when starting this boss fight is a little bit long, and you already have to trek from here. So like when you die, you spawn right here. And then if you want to get to the boss again, you have to make the trek from here all the way down here. Here's the transfers you to here. You walk through here. Then it transfers you here. And then you walk to the teleporter. Teleports you to the steps here. And then you can go back and then here. It's a pretty lengthy trek to try to make a second attempt on a boss. And the last thing I want to do is not only have them have to put up with that long trek, which will take a little bit of time, but then also force them to sit through this dialogue again. That would just be frustrating. It's kind of like, I'm sure people might be able to forgive the one sin of a long trek before making a second attempt at the boss. It might be easier for them to forgive that, but then also having them to make the long trek and have to sit through all their dialogue again, no. In fact, actually, now that I'm talking about that, I may not even have them have any acknowledging dialogue, or it may only be like 1 or 2 lines. Something that you could really blaze through super quickly. Basically, it's going to be like, oh, you're back, and then fight starts. You know, like, that's what I'm kind of thinking. So yeah, that needs to get added. End event. So right now, currently, after you defeat them, battle just stops. The sprites are still there. There's no dialogue once they're defeated. Once you defeat them, you can just walk from where you start the fight over to here and finish the level. It just looks unpolished. So basically, I just want maybe some final dialogue and then their sprites to disappear. So that needs to be implemented. Right, next are sound effects. There's 3 different ones that need to get implemented. In this cave, this enemy needs a sound effect. So that's one of the ones that I need to implement. Next one, the mid-boss. He also needs a sound effect. I think that's even in his... That's the battle controller. Yeah. Right there. There's a comment there to remind me. So those are put at each one of his dialogues. So it's not just to remind me that I need to do it. It's to remind me where I need to put the dialogue. So anyways, and then... yeah, this was one of the last things I discovered. The and I might do this on stream depending on how long it takes me to get through everything. Since most of today, or most of what I did this past week, was story stuff, I've managed to talk quite a bit here on stuff that I need to implement. So who knows? The stream may still reach its usual length of time. But if it's a little bit short, then maybe during the stream I might fix this. I might not. I don't tend to do a lot on stream, so we'll see. Anyways, when you escape, the set this event location is set to the wrong area for every enemy here, because these enemies were copy and pasted from the main area, so they are trying to be their escape. Basically their respawn location is set to an invalid location on this map. So I need to adjust that for all of the enemies on this map whenever you escape from battle. And yeah, that's everything that's on my list here of things that need to be implemented. And like I said, this is not comprehensive, but this is the stuff that I'm remembered to write down while I was in the middle of playtesting this area from start to end. So yeah, and I'm happy with this level. It's good. I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's entertaining. And the thing is I think this is probably going to be, fingers crossed, probably the worst level out of the bunch. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying out of the entertainment factor, it's going to be the one that's lowest on the scale, because I do really think that the puzzle mechanics that I have for the cave level is more interesting. And also I think the boss itself too is more interesting, because like here, Sharpen Plus, it's nothing short of a really bad joke, and that's really all they are. And their dialogue is humorous, but there's not really any sort of gimmick around them besides just a pretty standard not RPG maker, but just a JRPG boss, turn-based boss. Like, there's not anything super interesting about how that boss fight plays out from a game mechanic standpoint. I talked about last time, I think it was last time, the idea that I have for the boss fight in the cave, which I keep having more and more ideas for. I think it's going to be really cool, which I can't wait to work on and see it in action. I'm pretty excited about getting the boss fight implemented. So I think that's going to make the cave level more interesting. And then also the puzzle mechanic I have in mind for the forest level, whenever I get there, that's probably going to be another couple of months from now, but whenever I do get there, I think is also way more compelling than any of the puzzle mechanics within this level. And also the boss mechanic I had briefly talked about at like the end of one of my streams, I don't know, probably like maybe a month ago at this point. I'm not really sure. Where I wanted to try to translate typical like platforming boss trope into this turn-based game, where like the typical like platformer boss trope is that usually you have some sort of thing, either a column or some sort of damaging spike or hazard or whatever in the level that you have to try to like coax the boss into hurting itself. Like, you'd have to, like, I don't know, like you can imagine like there's a bomb or something here and you're standing in front of it and the boss tries to charge you and you move out of the way and it goes or something like that, some sort of derivative of that idea. So that's you know, like a pretty common trope within like platforming games, and you know, more real-time kind of games would have that type of trope for their boss. And I was thinking about how to like translate that type of mechanic into RPG Maker or into a turn-based boss. And I had a pretty fun idea where basically just like these enemies here, whenever you're underneath them, it triggers a fight. And so basically the idea is you if you trigger the fight with the boss outside of a specific zone, then the boss will be way too difficult to be able for you to defeat. So the goal is to try to lead the boss into a zone and then fight the boss in that zone. You'll do a certain amount of damage, and then once the boss's health reaches a certain point, that zone or whatever will be destroyed, and you will then be booted out of the fight, and you'll have to try to lead the boss to the next zone. So that's the idea in my head. I think implementing that will be very difficult, so I don't know if it will be implemented, but I'm going to cross that bridge when I get there. I'm not even really thinking about the forest level that much right now because still working on this level and slowly making my way into working on the cave level, which is next. So the forest level will be the last level that I do, at which point maybe my idea of the boss may have completely changed radically. Or when I get there, I realize that it's way too difficult to implement and ultimately decide not to do it. So yeah. So as I was saying, I do think that this level will probably be the weaker of the bunch. However, I do still find it entertaining. I like this level quite a lot. I do like the gimmick of it here, which is getting to the boat and then exploring the ocean. Oh, I should write that down right now. That's one of the things I haven't done yet. I do have a map. I actually had this last week. I just forgot to show it off. Let me see if I can bring it up. Where is it? Did I just put it in? Oh, I probably put it here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, okay. So here's the map. Let me write this down real fast so I don't forget before I start talking too much. We'll just say implement map quest. Not the website. Does that website even exist anymore? I don't even know. I feel like Google Maps might have made that website redundant. So anyways, here's the map. Yeah, I haven't implemented the quest that allows you to get this. So let me explain what happened. So originally I was talking about, I had this plugin that I had gotten. Oh, cool. The RPG Maker help thing opened up whenever I switch cameras. I'll just use this page to bring it up. No, not that one. This one. Okay, yeah. So please give me the web page. Thank you. All right, so yeah, this plugin, as you can see here, I had gotten for free whenever I had made the bundle for Ukraine purchase. And I thought this would be a great plugin for my idea for the seas. You know, I wanted to implement a map for those who, if you had reached a certain community level, upon entering the seas, the event would activate and basically turn on a quest where you would be able to get the map. It's only a small help. That's the thing, is like, because there's a good chance players may miss this event because, you know, they don't have the community level high enough whenever they enter the level. You know, it's not like it's gonna like completely change the way the game works, but having a map will help you navigate these seas because, let me tell you, when you're like here in the middle of the sea, the only thing you see is blue, and it's kind of tough to navigate. Because here's the difference: like if you think of like Wind Waker, you have a third-person perspective, and so you can see over the shoulder and you can see across the horizon, so you can see like the silhouettes of islands and stuff in the distance. That makes navigating the sea much easier. Even if you, I mean, you do have your sea chart that you can use in Wind Waker to help you out, but it's not completely necessary because you can just use the silhouettes of islands in the distance to help you navigate. However, of course, RPG Maker, it's a top-down perspective, so you can't see what's coming up ahead, which makes navigating quite tough. And so that's where the idea of the map came in. The map will assist the player in finding these islands. And I wanted to use this plugin to facilitate that because it seems great. You know, you can implement a mini map, and that means it's updating in real time, so you can really see like map markers and stuff, all sorts of whatever to help you get around this area and figure out where you're going. Seems great. Also, it has switches in it. It allows you to, right here, show the map with a switch. Cool. That means basically with a by completing the quest, all it does is just turn on the switch, and now whenever you go into the level, the map is there. So hooray! So it seemed perfect. The problem is that I couldn't get it to work, like, at all. The project did come with a demo project, and I opened up the demo project, and it worked in the demo project. So much so, I just went ahead and literally copied and pasted the plugin from the demo project into my own project, and suddenly I started getting crashes. So resetting that back to where it was by default, and troubleshooting it for hours and hours, and I just couldn't get the plugin to do anything in my game. The only time the plugin seemed to have any sort of interaction with my game was whenever I had copied and pasted it from the demo project. But like I said, whenever I did that, it just crashed the game. Whenever I, implemented the plugin from scratch, like basically I didn't copy and paste it, it just kind of acted as if I never installed it at all. Like it didn't do anything. There was no acknowledgement that the plugin existed whatsoever. And I did talk to the guy about it, but actually I wound up just canceling his support, I guess you could say. I don't know. I just wound up saying, never mind, don't worry about it. Because I had tried out a handful of his other plugins. He has a bunch of different plugins. And the thing is all of his plugins that I tried reacted the same way. Like I would implement them into my game, and my game wouldn't even acknowledge that they were installed at all whatsoever. I don't know what it is about his plugins, but apparently they don't agree with my game. I don't really like the way that he does his plugins, to be honest, because he makes them require his own, as he calls it, the book. Here it is, the Book of Eli or whatever. All of his plugins require this. First of all, it's really annoying because it's never stated clearly on any of the pages, so that always, it's kind of like a bad first impression that I'm sitting there like trying to troubleshoot this plugin that won't work, and then it's like, oh, it turns out you need this plugin, except not really, because as I said, even having this plugin installed, none of his plugins acted like they were even installed in the first place. I don't really like having these plugins that require like a parent plugin to work. It's just kind of annoying, but whatever. So I tried some of his other stuff that might help out. Like one of them was like gold messages or gold icons or whatever in the dialog box. And there's another one that you can map common events to your keyboard. So basically, you could add keys to your game. Sounds great, because you could just map some sort of event into a common event and just press the key and it will activate that. So you could think of like, for example, my fish throwing mechanic that I previewed a couple of streams ago. I could just map the whole fish throwing mechanic to a key on my keyboard, and I could just throw a fish. As long as the fish is in my inventory, just press that key. It checks if I have that fish in my inventory. If I do, then it throws the fish, right? Pretty cool. Would have loved for that to work, but like I said, none of his plugins worked. And after trying a handful of his plugins and not a single one of them functioning properly at all. Like I said, it's not even, they don't even crash. They just, there's like no acknowledgement that they exist at all. And because that happened with all of his plugins, I just didn't feel like troubleshooting it, honestly. And I just told the guy, like, sorry, never mind. I don't feel like troubleshooting this, so thanks, but no thanks. So I just wound up scrapping that idea of using the mini map because I couldn't get his plugins to work. Now, to be clear, also, it's not a problem with plugins in my game. It's not like I've hit some sort of soft cap or that plugins are no longer interacting properly, because I've actually added a couple of more new plugins to my load order. I don't know what you'd call this. Since those plugins and those new plugins that I added to my load order here work just fine. It's only his plugins that seem to have that weird non-interaction in them. So ultimately I just decided I can just create an item with a common event attached to it. So, you know, here's the item. Over here you get map of the seas. Whenever you use the item from your inventory, it just quickly pops up this image on your screen, and then you can press the spacebar to close it. So you can just open the map, check it, and then close the map. That's simple. So this map was it's a combination of an exported image of this map, like here. It's just, you can right click here and then save as image. So I just exported it, but then also I also like traced over it and used colors and then used some color blending, so that way it doesn't look so, it kind of has a more organic edge to the islands. Like you can see this island is a little bit more rounded here, so it kind of has this organic edge to it instead of it looking like, you know, tiles. So I traced over everything with appropriate colors and then used color blending to try to make it look a little bit more, you know, like a natural coastline instead of a tiled pixel coastline. So and then also implemented some icons. These icons are actually just taken straight from the icon pack that I'm using in the game. So there's some, I guess you could say, thematic consistency there. And you can see that I labeled out everything. So you have like your chests here with these subtle red X's. And then the main islands that you need to go to are a little bit more clear with the blue seashell there. And of course there's the boss at the top and the exit down at the bottom. And you'll notice here the compass is actually inverted. And that's because if we first go to the community, you'll notice that this community was designed, the idea is that you have, and I think these signs actually even acknowledge it, these signs here, that this is north, just as it looks, just as it appears in the game. This is north, this is west, this is south, this is east, right? So what happens is you're coming down this way, and then you go here, and you keep going down south, and then when you get to the seas, suddenly it kind of flips completely. So I was debating whether I wanted to just go ahead and not acknowledge that at all. Like, I think if I had actually put this compass as northeast, southwest, people probably wouldn't care or even notice. So I kind of debated whether I wanted to keep it thematically consistent with the world, or keep it more practically consistent with what's being displayed on the screen. However, as you could tell, because it's flipped upside down with north at the bottom and south at the top, I did decide to keep it thematically consistent with the game. So, yeah. So even though you're going up, technically, because this is flipped upside down, you're actually going south. So, yeah. So that's the idea I've wound up going for the map is that you'll just, whenever you get the quest, you'll be able to go to here, the quest is that he used to be like a sailor or a captain of a ship long ago in his prime, and he still has a map that you can use, and so you can leave the coast once. Oops, that's the Tileset test. Once you get that quest, you get the quest when your community level is high enough. So you have to have a high enough community level to be able to get that. And if you do, then it activates a quest. You go talk to him. He'll get you the map, and then you can come back and you'll have that item, and you can open and close it whenever you want to navigate here. So, let's move on to the story stuff. So, basically what happens is at the end of the last stream, I showed off this really cool animation. I think it kind of spoils a lot of what's going on in the game, unfortunately, but I think it's really cool. And, man, I've been really happy with, how much more interesting it makes the story itself, too. The story itself is, taking... It's both a story contained within the world, but it also has this meta-narrative side to it as well. If you played my first game, you might kind of understand it. Like, I've taken... Because in my previous game, the main bad guy basically acknowledges, oh, you want to make a game? Oh, that's a reference to me. And then a lot of Fiddle's comments are clearly comments that come straight from my mouth. Yeah, it sounds a little bit like it. I mean, it is basically self-insert, but I've kind of taken that idea and turned it up to 11. Not the self-insert part, but the whole it's basically a riff on what I want to do and game making and all of that. I mean, you should have probably already picked that up with references to I think I've already mentioned that the cave is called Unity Cave, and the forest is the Unreal Forest, and then the least clear but probably more punny kind of name is the Vast Seas, the level that I just finished. The Vast Seas, because the programming language C, C++, C#. Okay, yeah, I know, it's not funny. So, anyways, yeah, so there's already sort of, it's pretty apparent that it's kind of taking this reference to game design, I guess you could say. But anyways, yeah, so there's this, this is not Mass Effect, to be clear. Your choices don't matter that much. The narrative knows where it's going to go, and you are not really going to affect how the ending plays out. It's you're going to get railroaded right to that end, no matter what. However, just like I had mentioned before, there's a little secret at the very beginning of the game where it is possible to very briefly change the course of the story. It kind of diverts it, and then, of course, it'll have to come back to where it is. That secret also has some secret music hidden to it. It also unlocks a hidden difficulty mode, which I think is funny. Anyways, which I haven't tried balancing the secret difficulty mode too much yet, because the game is not finished yet, and I'm still trying to balance the primary main mode of the game. However, the one thing that I do like about it so far is it really kind of changes the rules a little bit, where leveling is a little bit less important and gear is a lot more important. But that's beside the point. That's very much a work in progress, and will be one of the last things that I implement. But also on that note of diverging paths, there's a really cool moment. I had the strangest fucking epiphany at, I don't know, 3 o'clock at night, when I had already spent an hour tossing and turning in bed, trying to fucking fall asleep, but couldn't stop thinking about this garbage. And this epiphany hit, and I just fucking loved it. So, again, I don't want to spoil it, but there is this choice that will come up after you light the lighthouse. You will, you can see this is how I handle logic. So, because, all right, I'll come back to what I was just talking about. Hang on, let me explain this. You have levels completed at 1, 2, and 3. As you know, or maybe don't, if you haven't been watching on the streams, is you can complete these levels in any order that you want. So basically, you can get to, even though this is the first level that I completed, it may not be your first level to complete. And so obviously, to make sure that the story is consistent, it checks how many levels you've completed, and depending on which one, how many levels you have completed is which story event will activate. And even though there are tabs for all of the story events here, only one of them has been finished because I haven't completed the other levels yet. So anyways, you can see here there's all of that. And somewhere in here, yeah, you can see a player must make an important choice. Here's a positive choice, and here's a negative choice. And doing those negative choices will have a real impact on the game, and I really fucking like it. The negative choice will actually send the player on a brief side quest. It's very brief, but it is completely different content than if you pick the other choice. And there is one thing I will say about this, is that it kind of sucks that when you pick the negative choice, it is way more interesting from just a narrative perspective than if you pick the positive choice. But the positive choice is the right canonical answer. I don't know. It's unfortunate that it's turned out that way, but you know, I could spend hours racking my brain for how to make the positive choice also have its own like little side quest. So it's like, if you do the positive choice, then you will have to do this, and then you can go to the next level. So like, what happens is, when you pick the negative choice, you, like I said, you'll be diverted into taking this little side quest when you do it, and basically you have to complete that short little side quest before you can even do the next level, because like, this is at the end of the level, right? So you've completed this level, and if you pick the negative choice, you cannot just start the next level right away. You have to do the side quest. However, if you pick the positive choice, oh, that's it. You know, story for this section's been wrapped up. Now you can move on to the next part of the game. So I think that's kind of the part that like bothers me about this, but it's so fucking cool that I just can't remove it. I have thought of some ideas to at least make the positive and negative, like I've given some, it won't have the side quest, but at least I've given some thought to the positive where it will still affect the story if you do the positive one. So like, if you do the negative one, there are some slight permanent changes to the game, and I wanted to reflect something similar if you do the positive choice. So I've come up with a solution to that. Even if it doesn't have the side quest, you do still at least get the permanent change to the game. So depending on what you do, it's actually going to control the flow of difficulty ever so slightly. It's not a lot, but ever so slightly, depending on which choice you make, is how difficult or easy the game will become. Just a little bit. So yeah. And I had spent most of this week working on that. Like I said, there's a lot of timing and stuff, like getting all of this dialogue here to flow naturally and work. Took a while. And yeah, so I got that implemented. It took a lot of debugging. The one nice thing, God, I wish I could just skip to this because it's not like there's any dialogue. After you go through all this dialogue, you have, I really like the sound effect, so I'm going to play it on stream, even though it's to you guys, it's just going to sound like fucking noise, but, I like it, so shut up. Yeah, so anyways, so basically whenever you I think I mentioned this before, so like you're going to go into what I've called the end of reality here, so it kind of switches over to this different tile set. Don't worry about the background too, like the clouds and stuff also change to a matching background as well. And then everything starts to fade out. That sound effect that I just played starts happening. And when you come back, you'll be back to your Rocky Coast tile set. And also, the clouds will be cleared up. It will be a blue sky. Things will be much brighter. And also, there's this, I'm pretty proud of this. There's this nice like panning shot kind of showing everything that you've done so far in the game, like showing like how things have changed. So, you know, it starts here at the top of the tower. You can see everything's changed back to the, you know, this tile set. And you'll see the blue sky. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can kind of mock up this event. So it kind of just like fades down slowly, or pans down slowly across this, fades out, quickly transitions over to here, and pans down here. Also, of course, the clouds in the background have also been changed to clear skies. Pans down a little bit, and then transitions to the sea, and we gotta align it just right, and then kind of starts about here and pans down, and you'll see fiddle about right here. And depending on which choice you made during that event is what music will be playing as well. If you chose the positive choice, then as it's panning down from here, you'll have this one come in that I had started the stream with. So you'll hear this one. And then if you chose the negative choice, I have a song that I've been writing. I don't know. I kind of like the feeling of just silence that happens when you just, you know, when it pans down and you've made the negative choice. It's kind of like letting your choice like stew. Because I think at this point, players will realize that choice they made, like, this isn't like your fucking like regular like fucking Pokemon game where you may get presented a choice, but it's only the illusion of choice. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. No, it will. And it's not even like a fake out. I've seen sometimes where, you know, as funny as it is, you know, games will give you like a choice, like, oh, you must proceed with the quest, and then it gives you a choice of like, oh no, I don't want to, never mind. And it's like, but you must, and you still continue to say, nah, never mind, and then it just gives you a game over because it's like, oh, the main protagonist was lazy and decided not to continue with their quest or something like that. Like, even then, like, it's not really a real consequence because it game overs you right there. So then you just load a save and you continue on. So it's not like a real choice. Here, when you're presented with the positive and negative choice, I think that's the moment when players will realize, oh fuck, these choices I make, they're real fucking choices. They're gonna affect the game. And I think when they make the negative choice, having just silence there just kind of lets them stew in that thought, like, oh, what did I do? What have I done? So I don't know if I want to implement music, but the music I do have is pretty dramatic, so it would still be rather fitting. I've kind of thought about either making it like a hidden song that could be played, like you could unlock by doing something with a lot of the hidden background music I've implemented, or it could just come in later because after you complete, you know, after you have that little cinematic of all the panning, when you leave the level, you'll go here, and then there's another little story event. You can see once again I've done the same thing here as well. So yeah. It just checks which level, how many levels you've completed, and depending on how many you have, it's going to activate that story event. So it'll play through all that dialogue, and also some of the dialogue, it has some very small changes that also depend on whether you made the positive or negative choice. It's not a lot. It's basically just acknowledging that you made a negative choice. It's not really going to change the flow of the dialogue that much, though. So yeah, there's that. And maybe possibly during that, I could implement the more dramatic music that I'm working on if I wanted to. Again, I still don't know if I want to implement it at all. So, and then finally, you can come back to town. And if you chose the negative choice, then you'll have, like, the negative choice is going to funnel you back into town to where the quest takes place. But of course, if you did the positive choice, then there's not that side quest there. So once you're back in town, you are free to go to the next level. And for the record, like I said, it does funnel the player like into where they need to go. So like all the doors and people and all of that stuff has been deactivated basically. I'm proud of having the foresight. Didn't even need the play test for this. The negative choice, I realized that the player cannot die after making that choice until they have been able to complete the quest, because otherwise, because of my death mechanic that I have implemented, it will fuck up the logic of the game, because you're supposed to, like, you're intended to, so here's the thing, like here, if you are here and you have that negative choice, actually it doesn't matter if you have negative choice or positive choice. If you're here and you die to an enemy because you decide to explore some more instead of going straight to town, then it will skip this section, which it's intended that you will go straight from here to town. That's the wrong one, to town. So you'll need to pass through this area to activate the story event. So yeah, I realize that I cannot let the player die. So there is like some controlling happening. So whenever you've made the choice, it will prevent you from going backwards. And also the same thing applies for the main area as well. A lot of these things like the jump pads get disabled as well. Like this rope gets disabled as well. And originally I didn't want to disable the jump pads, but there's some other logic that's going on in the background that if that logic decides to execute while you're in the middle of your jump, I didn't test this, but I have a feeling if the logic executes while in the middle of the jump, it could cause problems. So originally I didn't block off the jump pads. I just blocked off here and blocked off here. But then I realized that, there is potential that if that logic executes while the player is in the middle of the jump, it could soft lock them. It may mess up something. And so rather than risk that potential, I just decided just disable the jump pads. Also, the teleporter, of course, is disabled as well. So you can't do that. So you are pretty much locked. Oh, the other thing is too, God forbid, should the player have their boat just resting here, and whenever they come back from after completing the level, like say for example before they fought the boss, they decided to move their boat here and maybe do some exploration around these seas before going on to the boss. And then they came back and just took the teleporter straight to the boss. So their boat would still be here because they just teleported to the boss instead of taking the boat to the boss. And so after they complete the boss, the boat would still be here and they'd be able to hop on the boat. If they chose the negative choice, and like I said, I don't want them to die, they could just take that boat and basically circumvent these things that I've blocked off and or they could even go to any of the caves as well. So either they could go over to this other shore or they could go to any of the caves, circumvent the blocking that I did, and wind up, dying and basically invalidating all that I did. So also, in addition to that, whenever the camera begins to scroll down, like once it transfers over to here and begins scrolling down, it also resets the boat's location as well. So basically you are locked into this area, and you are not able to leave it until after you progress the little detour quest that you're required to take when you make the negative choice. So, yeah. So there's that. I just wanted to mention that because I'm proud of it. I didn't even have to play test my game to realize that I needed to do that. I mean, I did play test it, and while I was in the middle of playtesting, I was kind of like, what would happen if I died? Oh yeah, that's gonna fuck a lot of shit up. So, before even having to experience that personally, I had the foresight to realize, oh, that's gonna break shit. Let's go ahead and implement a fix for that. So, yeah, that got done. So, that's all the story stuff. Like I said, I mostly worked on that throughout this week. Took a lot of playtesting, which is why I eventually developed those debug tools that I showed off earlier. Now, starting yesterday, I did also begin working on the new Tileset. And so here it is. So, what I wound up deciding to do for this Tileset, I mentioned that I wanted to be like this volcanic cave. The problem is that my tile sets that I have, of course, yet again, doesn't have a volcanic cave in any of my tile sets. I do have a cave tile set. I have two different cave tile sets. In fact, I used one of those cave tile sets and smashed it together with another tile set to create this one. So like these are like supposed to be cave walls, but I did a little bit of altering to them, a little bit of color adjusting, and managed to create this rocky coast kind of look. So it was kind of the same story here. The only thing that actually the cave was missing really was the lava. And now there is some lava that is in some of the default tile sets that come with RPG Maker, and I could have just copied those that lava from there into and just merged it with my cave tile set. But I don't really like the look of the lava, and I wound up buying. I didn't mean to click on that. I wound up buying a whole new tile set, mostly just because I like the look of their lava tile. It looks dramatic and kind of seemed to mesh slightly better with the art style of my other tiles. So pretty much I bought this whole tile set just for these lava tiles, but there is more to it than that. You know, it was actually kind of, the idea was that this tile set has these purple tiles in it, and I kind of like how the purple looked with the fire, with the lava, and so decided that's why this whole tile set is purple, is because I tried to color match it as close as I could to these tiles. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close to the warmer purple here in this tile right here. And tried to kind of closely match it there, so it's similar in color, temperature, and tone. And I kind of like the look. I think it's fairly unique to have this purple ground with the red hot lava. So yeah, but this is the tile set that I had bought. There's actually not a lot of pieces, as you can see. There's like here, and here, and oh, that's it. Yep. So what is that? You have A1, A2, A4, and A5. There's no A3 and a B piece. So yeah, it's not a lot. Basically spent $10 on this tile set, and most of that $10 was just for this lava. However, I will probably use this tile set as well, because as I had mentioned before, so the idea for the final boss for the cave level is you're basically going to climb a mountain, jump into the caldera, and then it turns out the caldera is like an arena, like, you know, a coliseum, and there's like an arena match going on. And I thought that actually these like cleaner looking tiles and stuff like that are, I think, gonna be pretty good to create that like coliseum kind of look. I may need to merge these tiles with some other tiles as well, because I don't think there's enough options within all of these to create it exactly the way I want, but I don't know. We'll see. But I think I can create a pretty cool like arena match using these tiles here. So it will get used, but it was definitely mostly for just this lava, just for this lava right here. So yeah, so I had been working on this a little bit yesterday and a lot of today actually. Just before the stream, I'd actually put together this little test map just to kind of see everything together. I haven't completely finished the tile set yet, so I've only done the A pieces, and you can see basically what I've done is, so with the purple, let me just show you the original tile set. Where's the original tile set? Do I have it on hand? Not easily. That's okay. I can just bring it up in RPG Maker because I do have it implemented, the original one. Here. No. Here. This is the original one here. So you can kind of see what that looks like originally. This is the A set. Here's the B set. And C set. And D. So this is the original tile set for that I've used, but then I've color corrected, added the lava tile set, and I've made some adjustments to it as well. And so let me show you what I've done. So besides it being purple, it's not actually just a hue filter that's been applied that's just turned everything purple. There's some small corrections made to it. The ground itself is purple, which does have the hue switch on it. As well as I increased the contrast, so you can see those down here. You can kind of see the adjustment layers that I've implemented in Photoshop here. So there's contrast to just make it pop out a little bit more, make it look a little bit more dramatic. And of course there's the hue and saturation. That's the big important one. However, that's just for the top. Now for the walls, I didn't like the look of everything just being purple hue. So actually what I did is I have this darkening filter on it. So it desaturates it, and I think that's really it. I think it just desaturates it, makes it a lot closer to a gray. It might darken it too. So that kind of gives a little bit more definition between like the tops, the things that you can walk on, and the walls. So like without it, everything's really kind of ugly. It looks like I just applied a purple filter to everything and that's it. So yeah, so I applied a little bit more definition there. And then for the wood is treated a little bit specially for this. Considering the cave is filled with hot lava, not only did I desaturate it, so you can see here is the original one. Also this, no. Yeah, okay, it's just this. But you'll also notice that there are these like black marks on it, so I also applied some black scorches to the sides of the wood, because I mean, if wood's in a cave, I don't think would be out of the question for it to be slightly scorched. So I applied the black scorching to the edge of these wood pieces as well, and any other wood piece has similar scorching applied to it. You can see here there's some scorching there, some scorching down here on the bottom of these. So yeah, I did that. I didn't actually do any scorching on these. I probably should. And here, there's also no scorching here. But anyways, you can kind of see that it's not just applying a color filter. It's also doing some color correcting as well. And oh yeah, there's some scorching here. So there's some scorch there and up here as well. So. I've made a few adjustments. Like this, I think was originally grass, and I instead made it look kind of soot, and other things too. So it's coming along. I only have the A set done, and I was just testing it here in RPG Maker. There might be some minor adjustments that I need to make to it, but again, just like last time, whenever I was working on the Rocky Coast tile set, a lot of this had to get adjusted as I went along building the level. Like the version of the Rocky Coast tile set that is currently implemented in the game is a lot different than the one that I had begun making the level with. And that's just because as I went on, I realized I needed different assets, or I needed to adjust the way assets looked. And that'll probably be the case for this one as well, as I'll probably need to make some adjustments as I go. But at least I can get a good baseline where I can at least start building out the level the way that I want. However, I still have a long ways to go, because I still need to do the B tile set, which has a lot of the like doodads and stuff that you actually populate the level with. And those ones are probably going to take me a while, because I'm going to have to decide which ones do I scorch, like which ones do I burn like this, which ones do I apply the purple filter to, which one do I apply the desaturation filter to, and then of course if it's a wood I need to do the wood filter as well, and maybe apply some scorching to the edges. So, you know, it'll take a while, and the more doodads, the more I have to decide what to do. Like, these are not really doodads, but like these rock piles here, took me a moment to decide how I wanted to handle them. And basically what I did, you can kind of see it actually in this big like gravel pile here. I decided to just take a soft like feathered brush and apply the saturation to the top and let the rest of it be desaturated. So there's just like a purple circle at the top of the hill, and then it kind of rolls off into desaturation. However, you can kind of see that there's like this like very subtle but like cross pattern where you can see where like one circle ends, there's a slight fade back into the desaturation before the next circle begins, and so you get kind of like a very subtle checkerboard pattern. It's a little bit easier to see once we're in game and don't have the grid lines there. So, oh my god, that's loud. That's loud. Okay, it probably sounds fine for you, maybe, especially with the audio pumping up and down, but ooh, it was too loud in my headphones. Why is it so small? Is it this one? Yeah, okay. So anyways, you can see it a little bit more clearly here in the game. It's still fairly subtle, so I don't know if I want to adjust it. I also don't know how often I'm going to be using this piece. I had this piece in the in the Rocky Coast tile set that I used for the seas. I had the same tiles there, and I almost never used them, so I don't know if I'll be using it here. This is a little bit different of an environment, so it may be more likely that I use it, but I don't know. Over here, this one looks fine, even though I used the same process on them. I think it's just because the gaps between the feathered circles, there's a lot more contrast in these rocks, so the gaps between them are a little bit less visible, so yeah. So anyways, you can see this is how kind of roughly how the look of it will go. It's not completely finished. I do have a weather effect plugin, which is the one that I use to implement the stormy weather in the seas, and it comes with a few other options that are useful for the levels that I want to do in this game. For example, this hot lava place. It has this thing called embers, where you can see like some ashes like rising, which is a pretty cool effect. However, if we just turn that on and run the game, we have a little bit of a problem. I've contacted the developer, but I don't know if I'm going to get a response, because I noticed on their... First of all, they request everyone to contact them via their Twitter, and which is kind of annoying, because normally with the itch.io plugins that you can purchase or even download, not even just necessarily purchase, but the ones that you can download, usually the comment section is a pretty good place to look for bugs and answers. Just, you know, like right there, it's all contained in the same page, but instead they ask people to go to their Twitter page to direct troubleshooting questions. And judging by their Twitter page, it's, number one, not very active. The last post was from 2019, so that's not giving me a lot of hope. And also, one of the replies to one of their posts was about problems with this plugin. Not the problem I'm having, unfortunately. And they said that they had contacted the developer but never got a reply, so they wound up having to fix it themselves. And they did post their fix But again, the problem that they were having, it's not the problem I'm having. So I don't know. I've been looking through it, but I'm just not good enough to be able to figure out what's going on. I've done a bit of playtesting. So you have like these different weather types. So you have rain, storm, snow, leaves, the one that I want, embers, and shine. And I've tested in-game shine, leaves, snow, storm, and rain, and all of those work without problems. It's only embers that seems to have the problem. And so I'm not sure what to do. I've like kind of scrolled through this page quite regularly, just using, control find. They call in the game, it's this weather type is called embers. However, throughout the actual plugin code itself, they call it heat. So I've done searches for both embers and heat and tried to compare whatever is in the code there to other things like leaf here just above it, because I know leaf works. So if this and this look more or less the same, then it should work, right? So then I just keep going to the next one, the next one, the next one, next one, next one. Just looking for some inconsistencies to see if I can find where the problem is. Now there is one thing that I did notice. So like here, all of this green text, it's not commented out. I know it's turned green when it is commented out in Notepad++, but this is not commented out. This is actually functional code here, and that is for the plugin description. And if we go to here, this is the plugin. I did notice that when I go to embers and go to screen tone power, so the reason why screen tone power is where I'm jumping to. Let's launch the game again real quick. So it says here that the weather.update dimmer Aries 003 underscore weathercontrol.js at 9:46, column 44. So referencing those lines in that column, 9:46, column 44. Is here talking about tone, RGB. It's using dimmer color controller, update dimmer. So the reason why I was even looking at dimmer in the first place here was because the place that it says the error is cropping up at is also dealing with the tone, the dimmer, whatever. And I noticed it's now displaying correctly. What up with that? Fuck. Way to invalidate the thing that I was just gonna go off on. All right. Okay, so originally, before I just opened this up, it did not say valid, a number between 0 to 225. That doesn't mean much. Like, I mean, that's obviously not going to cause the game to crash if it doesn't display that. But it was giving me a clue that maybe something was going wrong somewhere, because before it just said determine the strength of the screen dim during embers. And also there was actually a typo in there that I decided to correct anyways. Not that it matters, but anyways, I corrected that typo. And that's all it said. It just said determine the strength of the screen dim during embers. And it didn't have this valid thing here at all. That was just not there. However, if you went to the Notepad++, we'll scroll back up to where that was. Embers, screen tone power, I do believe is the one. Yeah, this is the one. Like it had this valid, a number between 0 to 225 in the JavaScript itself, but of course before that valid was not present, and it made me believe maybe something weird was going on there that was causing it to crash. I don't know. I'm not really much of a programmer. It was just my first guess because there's an inconsistency between what's supposed to be displayed and what's actually written. So however, as you can see, and completely invalidated me, it is now being displayed. Why? I don't know. Maybe because I fixed that typo in here, it decided, oh, okay, all right. I don't know. But anyways, I've looked and looked for a problem with this, and I can't seem to find it. I'll keep playing around with it. It also may not be a programming problem at all. It could be some sort of problem on my part in implementing the plugin. It just seems weird to me that all the other weather types work just fine without problems, but the Embers one doesn't. I don't know, but I guess I don't know. I really don't know where to look, but yep. Anyways, so that's where I'm at right now. Is I would like to get that implemented so that way there's a weather effect going on in the game. The other thing that I want to do is since this is supposed to be in a cave, as I had demonstrated before in, let's use this one. No, let's use this one because this is a better one to use. We'll just set the starting position of the player there. Also, be careful. The volume's going to be loud once the game launches. If it's going to launch... Oh, right. It's over here. Let's just refresh it. Okay, so... As you can see, there's like this lighting effect going on. And I planned on using this lighting effect a lot. So first of all, I think the player's... I guess you could say cone, sphere of visibility... will be more limited than in the seas. It'll probably be bigger than this. It'd probably be, I would say, probably like 95% of the screen will be visible. So you'll just get like these little bits at the edges. So you kind of get this vignette effect, which will kind of make it feel like you're kind of like inside a dark place, but without actually sacrificing a lot of your ability to see what's ahead of you in the game. So that's probably how it will be. And then also I can add the lighting effect to the lava itself and make it seem like the lava is, well, actually glowing hot and bright, you know? So that's probably how I think it will go in the game. We'll have to see when I get there, but obviously that hasn't been implemented in my little tileset test yet. I'm still working on the tileset, so there's still more progress to be made there before I even start testing that other stuff. I did wish I could get the embers working, but sadly I cannot. For the record, also, I have tried, so here's where you declare which type of weather that you want to use. As you can see, I've used embers. I have actually tried writing this in various different ways, but the thing is that it will only work if it's spelled correctly, and if you spell it incorrectly, then it just won't do anything at all. So the fact that it is crashing tells me that it is trying to use the ember weather effect. It's just not able to execute it for some reason. So yeah. Anyways, I don't know if there's anything else I need to talk about, and sure enough, I've managed to rattle on for almost an hour and a half, which is about the usual length of these streams. And so I'm not going to get around to adjusting the enemies in the rocky lake like I said I was going to do. I didn't think I would get around to that actually during the stream because I never do work on the streams. But anyways, I do think that's going to be it for today. I do feel like I covered enough. Somehow, despite mostly working on story stuff throughout this week, I still managed to talk quite a bit. Before I go, I do want to mention, I don't know if it was actually just a spam comment or not, but it sounded like the the wording itself almost sounds like a spam comment, but it does directly acknowledge stuff within my video. On my TFL live stream, I did manage to get one comment there. Not sure if it's a spam comment or not, like I said, but it does directly acknowledge stuff that is in the video, so vaguely. So it does, I think it's a real comment. 60% sure about that. And so if it is a real comment, it's great to see that it is actually reaching people, which makes me feel good, because I don't want to just rant in the dark about my frustrations with Tifel. I made that live stream because I want people to hear my complaints and hopefully make a decision based on what I have to say as to whether or not they want to support Tifel or not. In my opinion, I don't think you should, but the goal of the video was just to express my frustrations and to help you decide. I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but hopefully, based on my experience, you can make a more informed decision about that. So it makes me happy to see that I at least got a comment from a stranger. I don't think they are a subscriber of mine, so that means it's probably reaching some people in a Google search, algorithm promotion, something, I don't know. So, like I said, just feels good to know that I have that reach. Now, there's one last thing I do want to do before I go. I actually meant to start my stream off with this as well, but I forgot, as usual. So, just give me just a moment here, and I'm gonna bring this up, and where is it? Hang on. I think it's here. Yeah, here it is. Let's bring this here. So, hey, did you know 89% of you are not subscribed to this channel? So why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button so we can change that percentage from 89% up to 88%? So click that subscribe button, smash the like button, check out all the whatever stuff in the description, book, music, game. Click on that stuff. Support me. I need money, please. Do that stuff. And I will probably stream again next week. I am feeling a little bit burnt out. Again, I know it hasn't been that long since I talked about taking a break. And I did take a break. I mean, I still streamed, actually. I think I still streamed that week. But you have to realize that I've been working on this game practically 7 days a week. Putting like 5 to 6 to 7, sometimes 10 hours a day into making the game, so burnout happens pretty quick. So I do kind of think I might want to take a short break. I'll probably still do some development, but I might also just take some time to myself, which may mean I may not stream, but I might. We'll see. But anyways, like I said, 89%. I am, let's make sure that, yeah, okay, you can see it. Good. You can see it quite clearly. Let's zoom in on that. Yep. That 89%. 89% of you are not subscribed, right? Not subscribed. So let's make sure that we fix that. Let's get it up to 88%. So thanks, guys. Remember to click the stuff in the description. And see you next time.